And I'm saying that because we've all seen recently the whole narrative about South Africa and the challenges that African migrants have had in South Africa. I have to tell you that it's not just an issue for South Africa. Where I am in Libya, it is a point where the majority of African migrants trying to go to Europe try to exit through Libyan corridors because the state institutions are weak. But I can assure you that that journey is probably more perilous than the current situation in South Africa. And the number of people who die on their way there, right? And the work that I think, well, not that I think, I know that our embassy has to do in Libya, especially when they find out that there are Ghanaians who have perished along the way, and they actually retrieve their bodies and give them Muslim funerals. That data has not been in the public domain as much, and so we're not cognizant of the scale at which it is happening. But I think that we should pay more attention to it, because for all of those who believe that the path to Europe is the way in which they are going to achieve their futures, we should be very, very sensitive to the fact that Europe and the Western world is closing its doors to illegal migration. And so what does that mean? With regard to the Western world, I think both at the continental, sub-regional level and as a country, we would have to expand our efforts to negotiate for legal labor channels and the protection of the rights of diaspora citizens, whose remittances are an important source of foreign exchange inflows. Among African member states themselves, I anticipate that this will be a contentious issue that will require very sensitive conversations to take place, because juxtaposing the desire of some member states to get rid of what they consider to be illegal migrants, returning them to their host countries, while at the same time advocating for the ease of travel restrictions and making it easier to travel across our continent in order to be able to do business, is going to be a very sensitive balancing act. And given the fact that we have quite a large diaspora, both abroad in the Western world, but also within the continent, I would say that going forward, that is going to be a particularly significant issue for Ghana that we should be paying attention to, because we also do not necessarily welcome all the migrants who come into our space. And we also are not necessarily entirely pleased with having people congregating around our traffic lights, coming from different parts of the region, who we consider to be foreigners. And even though we're not expelling them, the truth of the matter is that we're not really welcoming to them either. And so if we think that this is not going to be something that we have to focus on both in the short and medium term, then I think we're deluding ourselves. So going forward, especially at the national level, I would suggest that this is something we have to focus on in much more detail. So in short, we've got to invest in building institutions that are in a state of readiness, not just to promote our economic development, but to respond rapidly to threats and crises. That means not only focusing primarily on economic growth and prosperity, as important as that is, but also on human security, social cohesion, in order to build a resilient state. Over the years, we've done an incredible amount of work on policies, programs, and initiatives. Now the emphasis must be on effective implementation and execution, monitoring and evaluation, and ensuring that the resources we have available are put to efficient use to achieve these outcomes. We need to build a resilient state to meet the challenge of a multipolar, competitive, and interest-based world order, and engage in active diplomacy within our continent and beyond, especially with our sub-regional neighbors, to survive the storms ahead.